This is E&P Reports, a vodcast from Editor and Publisher Magazine, the authoritative voice of news media since 1884, serving newspapers, broadcast, digital, and all forms of news publishing.
And welcome once again, Mike Linder, publisher, E&P Magazine. As always, we urge you, please, if you're a podcast audio-only person, follow us on whatever flavor of channel you enjoy. If you're watching us on YouTube, there is a subscribe button below me. There is a bell to the right. I've heard the word smash. I've heard the word click. I've heard the word, I don't know, just hit them, and you'll get an update each and every time we upload this weekly vodcast series, E&P Reports. Kenny Katzgrau, it is an honor to have you on the program. You and I know each other. Full disclosure, E&P has been a customer of your company, Broadstreet Ads, or just call it Broadstreet, Kenny. Is it?
We just call it Broadstreet internally, but
all right,
we get the ads tacked on a lot.
It is an amazing tool. I know I'm giving you some free advertising now, but we use it as a quick way to turn our RSS feeds into really cool content, especially when it comes to our verticals like jobs, where we externalize them. It's a word I made up, Kenny. Don't use it in Scrabble. But we get them outside of the vertical and on our email pages and on our website pages. I mean, just an amazing tool. So we've been a customer of yours, and we thank you. You list yourself on LinkedIn as a pretty good software engineer turned SaaS business. 10 years running Broadstreet, but 7 years as one of us. You are a news media publisher.
So I've been very involved with Red Bank Green, in this case, the publication, since 2011, and became its publisher earlier in the year.
All right, so you are a publisher of Red Bank Green, which is in Red Bank, New Jersey, an amazing local digital-only news web presence, correct?
Yeah, I mean, we're doing a big redesign right now, and it has a way to go. But it is the bleeding heart of Red Bank, New Jersey. It's a true gem, and the old publisher who started it needed to figure out what the future looked like coming up on retirement, and I didn't want some local politician or finance person to buy it, and who knows what it'd turn into. So I felt like somebody had to carry the torch.
So there you are. But that's not why we're here today. We're here to talk about antitrust. We're here to talk about Google, and we're here to talk about the fact that you got a subpoena from Google, and we're going to dive into that and unpack it all and do it all on the backside of this message.
This episode of E&P Reports is exclusively sponsored by Blocks Digital, formerly Town News. Even though the name has changed, their commitment to the media industry is as strong as ever. Blocks Digital is now even better positioned to deliver integrated solutions like content management, audience development, advertising revenue, video management, and more. Join the over 2,000 news publishers worldwide that power their ongoing digital transformation with Blocks Digital, serving over 141 million monthly users who view over 6.5 billion pages of content each year. You can trust Blocks Digital to empower you, to connect you at scale with the community you need to reach. Blocks Digital, formerly Town News, now reimagined to help meet the news publishing challenges of tomorrow and beyond. Learn more at blocksdigital.com.
All right, so Kenny, it all goes back to the spring of 2018, where you published a manifesto, one of your white papers, and I read the whole thing. Thank you for sending me a link. 10 advantages that small publishers have over tech giants in selling ads. And it's basically you're offering some good advice, I think, to us, the news publishing industry, that we're not technically inferior. I'm trying to sum this up quickly, give like the elevator pitch. We're not inferior to big tech. We actually have a lot of advantages over them. And can I list the 10? Do you mind if I run them down? You said,
oh yeah, absolutely.
Community supported affinity, the direct relationship, autonomy, flexibility, and creativity. Section sponsorship, the ability to tell a compelling story with sponsored content. Bingo. That's my favorite because we embed our ads around really cool content. Sustainable and sensible pricing, newsletter sponsorships, optimal placement, transparent reporting, better overall performance. Now, this is a very detailed, amazing document. Those of you that are on Apple Podcasts Now or Spotify, come back to editorandpublisher.com/vodcast. I will give you, it's okay, Kenny, I can share the link to this, right? With anyone.
Oh yeah, it's at 10advantages.com. It looks like that. I have it up there. It was really well read and became very relevant again once I got that subpoena, and this is what it looked like, so um,
I'm not laughing. This is a big deal. I mean,
mhm.
so then all out of the blue, and this was recent, right? You
Yeah.
say in July of 2023, for those that might be listening to this 4 years after we record it, you get a FedEx envelope. Hold it up once again. This way our Spotify listeners can say, I'm going to YouTube. This
Yeah.
magic, and here's what you say, because I read your little, diatribe about it. You open it up, and it says that you're part of the federal antitrust case, United States versus Google LLC, and you've been served by Google's defense team. Is this correct?
Yep.
And
Yeah, Wilson Sonsini, I think, and whoever else is involved, which yeah, so they're a very well known and I'd assume very profitable law firm in Silicon Valley.
no matter how many millions of dollars Google's paying them, that's nothing more than a rounding error. They can
I've
afford.
heard I've heard it's on the order 1.5 billion. That's from another lawyer, one of the lawyers on our side, something like that. I don't know how they know, but that's just what I've heard.
All right, and it centers on two sections, which I dived into.
Hmm.
Know your enemy, part one. This is at the beginning of it, you say, know your enemy. By the way, did you steal that from Sun Tzu? Because, Art of
Yeah,
War,
yeah.
know the lay of the land, I think is what he says.
Mhm.
Go into a battle till you know the other side. And I could go on for hours. I believe in that strongly. But you say the key strengths of Google, Facebook, and networks. Know what their strengths are so you understand what your strengths just opposed. So, and you say once prominent news and magazine publishers, large and small, have been dramatically undercut primarily because they simply cannot compete effectively on fields of data, intent, and scale. Now,
Mhm.
in your opinion, why is that important in an antitrust case that you brought out this? I mean, they're going to bring you up there like an expert. They're going to show your background as a software engineer. You worked for Yahoo. I mean, you got a pedigree. I'm
Mhm.
assuming that the jury's going to say, yeah, this guy knows media and knows digital and knows our world. You run a very successful company. They're going to have you testify on this topic. Why, in your opinion, am I allowed to ask? I don't want to get you in trouble with
Oh
the.
yeah. No, I mean, I was advised to just not speak too much to the subpoena itself, in terms of the things that, just speak about it at a high level. But the fundamental argument is that Google, Facebook, and all players of scale, they rely on standardization. They need advertising to be a commodity. That's why you have like IAB standards. So the argument was that like the small guy's way to fight back against that is to bring creativity into the conversation. And creativity is really, I am a believer that standards generally stifle innovation. They're good for the big guys because they can buy and sell ads at scale. But creativity, the ability to be agile as a small publisher, that's how you fight back. Um, so the reason that I think we got, and this is really what the lawyer suggested, is that it shows that there's a viable way for small guys to fight back. It's pretty well, I lay it out in a pretty thorough way. And although I want the small publishers to fight back, and I ideally at the end of this antitrust case, I would love for Google to be broken up, in the way that the Bell Labs went. But what's strange is that I think I might end up having to, testify on Google's
Well,
behalf.
so you're basically saying to us, wake up, stop being at their mercy, use your strengths, and get to work. They're
Right.
going to pick you on a stand then, they, meaning Google, and have you say, well, these guys are vulnerable, so let them stay in the playing field. It's not antitrust. Look, they suck. They're just like any other business. They're going to make you testify to that fact.
Yeah. Of course, there's a way to fight back. That's basically what I'm gonna have to, say. And I agree. I agree with it, but at the same time, I don't want to do it on the behalf of the one who has really sucked the wind out of the entire industry. And I think the industry doesn't really talk about that a whole lot, especially with GNI and Google News Initiative and like how, all the grants and funding that GNI tends to give them. They don't really talk about like there's that love-hate relationship, but it's really, I think, a case of Stockholm syndrome, if anything.
You actually spoke about this at LMA Fest in Chicago, right?
Yeah.
And then you put the video of your speech up, and please, it didn't get a lot of views. It's almost like you're under the radar. I have not heard a lot of buzz about this. Did you get a lot of feedback in Chicago? Was your session
Oh yeah.
a session or a general session? How much was?
Oh no, it was a quick few minutes at lunch.
That was it.
Yeah, that was it. That's kind of what I wanted to do. I thought it was a little ironic that the GNI logo was like, thank you to GNI.
This was a paid spot then. You were a sponsor. You bought those 3 minutes in front of that audience, or were you asked to speak? I got to know.
Oh no. I was a sponsor, and then I asked to
used your
tell the
3
story.
minutes rather than sell your product. You used your 3 minutes to tell the story.
Oh yeah, no, totally. I mean, that's like I mean, I don't want to be up
No,
there.
no,
as
no.
the
I'm just gonna
Wall
get.
Street. I just
This is an interview, my friend. I'm allowed to
yeah.
ask this question.
I do what I do because I believe in it, and I believe in the small publishers. There are more lucrative paths, but
Wait a
I
second.
gotta.
Wasn't there a moment you just wanted to say, "I'll take out the old PowerPoint and show these guys why my company rocks, so I can pick up a client or two"? You basically used the 3 minutes to tell your story about Google. I'm confident.
Well, I want them to know who I stand with. That's what's important to me. I mean, if they find their way to Broad Street, that's nice. But I wanted to tell them what's going on and maybe get a little shift in perspective,
Yeah,
a little shift in perspective. To think about GNI just a little bit differently. So later in the day, when they're telling you all about their reader revenue software that they're going to give to publishers now, because that's what that's what they presented about. So now they have a new paywall or subscription thing that they're giving to publishers. Another way, I think, to separate or remove the relationship between the publisher and their end client. But no, I wanted to use those 3 minutes to help publishers think a little bit differently about. I was going to say friends close, enemies closer. When I posted that, it's been described as a diatribe, but it was real. And some publishers reached out and they said, I totally agree with you, but it's a friends close, enemies closer kind of thing. And I had another person who reached out and said, "Holy shit, you said what nobody else will say."
Exactly.
Everybody, yeah, typically, people want to lay low. You don't want to invoke the ire of Google. In fact, and I was hesitant to bring this up, but there was an association that asked me to sponsor recently, and I said, "Can I tell the story of 10 Advantages?" And they said GNI is going to be there in attendance, and we'd prefer that.
Now, when you publish diatribe, I call it because you really amazing article. Here's what you did: you listed publishers. You use Google Analytics. You use Google Ad Manager. You use Google Ad Exchange. You use Google Tag Manager. You look Google Looker Studio, Google Search Ads, G Suite, Google Amp. I mean, went through the whole list. And then the readers find all the content on Google. No ifs, ands, or buts. Basically, then you said this, but in a strange way, Google needs to keep the publishers alive. That is true. Isn't one of the top searches on Google local news? Isn't that one of the top? What people go to Google and type in the name of the high school football coach, correct? And that content usually comes from the most optimized sites, which are usually local news sites. I mean, duh. So it's.
I did an interview recently with a guy named Eric Schanfeld in Nearview Media, where we really focused on the different business units that push on each other at Google, and how Google's control of Chrome and the ad manager and Google search and analytics, and then they can enforce things like Google Amp. They all push on each other in this giant vice to kind of get what they want out of the industry.
Which is the click for our content, period, exclamation point.
They're always kind of squeezing more and more out of it. So although it was kind of I guess in some opinions, a diatribe, then that place where I posted it is called Living on a Prayer. So it was a blog that I started on Medium that was telling the story of taking Red Bank Green, a hyperlocal, and I published the starting balance sheet. I published basically the story of John Ward about to kick it and say, "I'm done with this." He was about to write a blog to the readers and say, I'm done, I'm tapped out." And I think every publisher, especially small publishers, has fantasized about that at some point. They've thought about pulling the plug, but they keep doing what they do. But Lived on a Prayer is a very New Jersey centric blog where, in that case, I felt like I had the liberty to kind of step outside of my professional shell and also say in New Jersey parlance what I thought about the whole thing.
Kenny, I got to thank you so much for your time. By the way, this is a developing story. Kenny has promised us that you will keep us abreast of this lawsuit as life goes on, correct? And we will get
Absolutely.
you to the program. But if anyone wants more information about Kenny Katzgrau and the product Broadstreet, what's the website, Kenny?
There's broadstreetads.com. Or if you want to check out the white paper, it's 10advantages.com. Or you can just Google my last name because it's a pretty unique one, and you'll probably find me.
You're there.
No, there's that too.
Katzgrau. I'm lucky to have Blinder as a last name because I own MikeBlinder.com. And Red Bank Green is an amazing site because it's really not your normal run-of-the-mill website. But by the way, it's going through redesign. We just heard.
The redesign is, I want it to be an example, a shining example of what it can be at the local level. I put so much thought into it, right? But I wanted to break all of the rules. It's really important that Red Bank Green can serve an example of what local news can be. It's very important. I know I'm kind of building it up there, but when it comes out, I do want folks to take a look at it and say, maybe that's something we should try.
Redbankgreen.com. Kenny.
Right now, it's got programmatic ads. It's a mess. So it'll be night and day.
But go back many times and look at it. Kenny Katzgrau, thank you so much for your valuable time. We'll have you back on the program. Keep up the good fight, sir.
Thank you so much, Mike. It's great to be here.